Hello and welcome to the Laughing Goblins. We are your hosts, Bon Bon
and Holly.
If you are new, then you don't know, we roast literature and mythology as well as delve into our special interests because we have ADHD and cannot be stopped. Oh, and a warning for our viewers and listeners. This episode will contain self-harm and self-unaliving, so if you get triggered easily, you may want to skip this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care of your mental health. Thank you. Please support us on Patreon if you can, and if you cannot, please share. We have 2 tiers. For our $3 a month tier, you can be a frog wizard. And for our $5 a month tier, you can become a cat mave, each with their own benefits. Last time on Literature Roast, we covered Canto 7, where Dante and Virgil stared at the prodigals and misers. And in Canto 8, they shared a moment of affection over Dante defeating his enemy, like a proper self-insert fanfiction. Our fate count is 2, and our fate count is 8. We begin this episode with Canto 9, where apparently our fate count goes up.
Immediately, because at first he was afraid, and sometimes petrified, kept thinking he could not go on without Virgil by his side. I have not read ahead, but I assume he will be fine, and here we go. We start now on Canto 9.
The color of the coward on my face, when I realized my guide was turning back, made him quickly change the color of his own. He stood alert, like one who strains to hear. His eyes could not see far enough ahead to cut the heavy fog of that black air. But surely we were meant to win this fight, he said, or else. But no, such help was promised. Oh, how time is taking him to come. I saw too well how quickly he amended his opening words with what he added on. They were different from the ones he first pronounced. But nonetheless, his words made me afraid, perhaps because the phrase he left unfinished, I finished, with worse meaning than what he meant. Has anyone before ever descended to this sad, hollow depths from that first circle whose pain is all in having hope cut off? I put the question to him, and he replied, "It is not unusual for one of us to make the journey I am making now. But it happens I was down here once before, conjured by that heartless witch, Erectro. Who could recall the spirit to its body? Soon after I left my flesh in death, she sent me through these walls and down as far as the pit of Judas to bring a spirit out. And that place is the lowest and the darkest and the furthest from the sphere, that circle. I know the road, and well, you can be sure."
Okay, so do we know who he brings up? Or not really?
Erica is a witch.
No, I know, but she summons Virgil, and she sent him to go get somebody from the deepest depths of the Inferno, where Lucifer is.
Yeah.
Do we know who that is?
Not yet.
Okay. The swamp that breathes with a prodigious stink lies in a circle round the doleful city that now we cannot enter without strife. And he said other things, but I forget them, for suddenly my eyes were drawn above, up to the fiery top of that high tower, where in no time at all, and all at once, sprang up 3 hellish furies stained with blood, their bodies and their gestures those of females. Okay, how can a gesture show you that they're female? What did they do?
I guess push their boobs up. I don't know.
Shake their tits in his general direction?
Sure. Why not? They shimmied at them.
Shimmy, 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 shimmy. Fear for your life!
Shimmy, shimmy.
Their waists were bound in cords of wild green hydras. Horned snakes and little serpents grew as hair and twined themselves around the savage temples. And he who had occasion to know well the handmaids of the Queen of Timeless Woe cried out to me, "Look there, the fierce Erenes! That is Megara, the one there to the left, and that one raving on the right, Alecto. Tisiphone in the middle. Tisiphone, maybe?
Tisiphone, yeah.
He said no more. With flailing palms, the three would beat their breasts, then tear them with their nails, shrieking so loud. I drew close to the poet, confused with fear. "Medusa, come! We'll turn him into stone," they shouted, all glaring down. How wrong we were to let Theseus off lightly! Now turn your back and cover up your eyes, for if the Gorgon comes and you should see her, there will be no returning to the world. These were my master's words. He turned me round and did not trust my hands to hide my eyes, but placed his own on mine and kept them covered.
So he summons ghosts and Medusa and is weightless and he glows.
No, technically the Furies summoned Medusa. He's
True.
just protecting Dante from Medusa.
Okay.
But Virgil has many powers, apparently.
Many powers. Oh, all of you whose intellects are sound, look now and see the meaning that is hidden beneath the veil that covers my strange verses. And then above the filthy swell approaching, a blast of sound shot through with fear exploded, making both shores of hell begin to tremble. It sounded like one of those violent winds born from the class of counter temperatures that tears through forests, raging on unchecked. Is he talking about a hurricane?
Again? We were just there! No, that was a tornado. But still!
It splits and rips and carries off branches and proudly whips the dust up in its path. Now it's definitely a tornado again.
Oh, God.
And makes the blast the shepherds flee its course. He freed my eyes and said, "Now turn around and set your sight along the ancient scum, there where the marsh mist is hovering thicket. As frogs before their enemy, the snake, all scatter through the pond and then dive down until each one is squatting on the bottom. So I saw more than 1,000 fear-shocked souls in fright clearing the path of one who came walking the Styx, his feet dry on the water. From time to time, with his left hand, he fanned his face to push the putrid air away, and this was all that seemed to weary him. I was certain now that he was sent from heaven. I turned to my guide, but he made me a sign to keep silent and bow low to this one. All the scorn that filled his holy presence, he reached the gate and touched it with a wand. It opened without resistance from inside. "Oh, heaven's outcasts, despicable souls," he started, standing on the dreadful threshold. "What insolence is this that breathes in you? Why do you suddenly resist that will whose end can never be denied, and which more than one time increase your suffering? What do you gain by locking horns with fate? If you remember well, your Cerberus still bears his chin and throat peeled clean for that." He turned then and retraced the squalid path without one word to us, and on his face he looked of one concerned and spirit by things that were not those be found surrounding him. And then we started moving toward the city in the safety of the holy words pronounced. We entered there, and with no opposition, and I, so anxious to investigate the state of souls locked up in such a fortress, once in the place, allowed my eyes to wander and saw in all directions spreading out a countryside of pain and ugly anguish, as the Arles where Rhone turns to stagnant waters, or as at Pola near Quarnero's Gulf that closes Italy and bases confines the sepulchres make all the land even. So even did here strewn in all directions except the graves serve at a crueler purpose, for scattered everywhere among the tombs were flames that kept them growing far more hot than any iron artisan might use.
Each tomb had its lid loose, pushed to one side, and from within came forth such fierce laments that I was sure inside were tortured souls. I asked, Master, what kind of shades are these, lying down here, buried in the graves of stone, speaking their presence in such dolorous sighs? And he replied, There lie arch-heretics of every sect, with all their disciples. More than you think are packed within these tombs. Like heretics lie buried with their like, and the graves burn more or less accordingly. Then, turning to the right, we moved ahead, between the torment there and those high walls. So we're in the circle of heresy, which is apparently outside the three main divisions of hell. So it's a circle, but it's to the side. It's like the gift shop, in a way.
Sure.
And apparently the three main divisions of hell are incontinence, violence, and fraud. I think heresy would probably be part of fraud, wouldn't it? Not really.
It's weird back then.
Okay.
I think
It does say that heresy is not due to weakness of the flesh or mind, which is incontinence, nor is it a form of violence, but it doesn't say why it's not considered a form of fraud. Anyways, that was Canto 9. We're surrounded by little space heaters full of people.
Yeah. That fills the countryside, apparently.
And now we're moving further through the heretics, and we will recognize one of the heretics, according to the summary. So, now onward down a narrow path between the city ramparts and the suffering my master walks, I following close behind. O lofty power, who through these impious gyres lead me around as you see fit, I said. I want to know, I want to understand. The people buried there in sepulchres, can they be seen? I mean, since all the lids are off the tombs and no one stands guard, and they will forever be locked up when they return here from Jehoshaphat, with the bodies they left up in the world.
Great.
The private cemetery on this side serves Epicurus and his followers, who make the soul die when the bodies die. As for the question you just put to me, it will be answered soon while we are here, and the wish you're keeping from me will be granted. And I, oh my good guide, I do not hide my heart. I am trying not to talk too much, as you have told me more than once to do. Again, Dante admitting that he has been told to shut up, that he will not shut up.
So many times.
But this is giving me major, I'm not hiding anything from you. I would never hide something from you. You told me to be quiet.
Wow, Dante, wow.
Oh, Tuscan, walking through our flaming city, alive and speaking with such elegance, be kind enough to stop here for a while. Your mode of speech identifies you clearly as one whose birthplace is that noble city with which in my time perhaps I was too harsh.
No.
One of the vaults resounded suddenly with these clear words, and I, intimidated, drew up a little closer to my guide.
I don't think Virgil was too harsh on Tuscany during his time.
No. This isn't Virgil. This is somebody else speaking.
Okay.
Who said, "What are you doing? Turn around and look at Farinata, who has risen. You will see him from the waist up, standing straight." So, Farinata is somebody from Tuscany, but who is he?
He's one of the Gilpines and Gilfs from before.
Okay, so this is Farinata degli Uberti. He's an Italian aristocrat and military leader of the Ghibelline faction in Florence. So, like we said, Dante puts his politics into the Inferno.
Every chance he gets, guys.
So he was a leader of the Ghibellines after the death of the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II in 1250. The Guelphs were able to reassert powers in Florence.
Yes.
And so he got exiled, much like Dante will eventually get exiled.
By the Black Guelphs. The Black Guelphs are the ones that exiled Dante, apparently.
Of course they did, because he threw them in hell also.
Yeah, he did.
Dante does not discriminate.
He was a white Guelph.
So he went to Siena, which was a Ghibelline stronghold, and he aligned himself with former Roman Empire's illegitimate son. Then he helped the Ghibellines force a victory against the Guelphs at the Battle of Monteperti. And captured Florence. So that might be why he's saying he was cruel to Florence, is because he helped capture Florence.
Yeah.
Oh, they actually threatened to burn it down. But Farinata was like, "No, I'm Florentian. You can't do that."
Fair enough, I guess.
He basically was like, "I'm a Florentine first and a Ghibelline second, and I will safeguard this city."
The city is innocent.
But it's not like Florence was left unscathed, because the Ghibellines destroyed homes of leading Guelphs, among which were 103 palaces, 580 houses, and 85 towers.
Wow, they were busy.
Yes. And then when the Guelphs regained power, they repeated and they reconstructed what had been demolished.
Oh, that's nice of them.
But then they also destroyed every building that belonged to Farinata's family.
History is fun.
And now that all that remains is the Piazza della Signoria, and it's been declared that nothing will ever be built there. Like, it's only going to be Piazza now. But this is, I guess, why
he writes it in.
I'm not really getting the heresy. Oh, wait, no. Okay, so apparently Farinata is considered to be a heretic because he believed that there was no life after death. So when you die, you die. There's no afterlife. The soul's not immortal, which would have been very against the Catholic doctrine.
Well, and it's very atheist.
Yes. Interestingly, though, much like Dante, Farinata actually does have a statue up in Florence. So
yes, I've seen it.
He's remembered.
He is.
Farinata degli Uberti. He's in a portico of the Uffizi, which is a famous art museum, which I have been to, but I don't remember seeing him. Granted, at that point, I don't think I remembered who Farinata was. I definitely remembered who Dante was, but not
Farinata.
Farinata, no.
I already had my eyes fixed on his face, and there he stood out tall, with his chest and brow proclaiming his disdain for all this hell. My guide, with a gentle push, encouraged me to move among the sepulchres towards him. "Be sure to choose your words with care," he said, and when I reached the margin of his tomb, he looked at me and half contemptuously, he asked, And who would your ancestors be? And I, who wanted only to oblige him, held nothing back, but told him everything. At this he lifted up his brows a little, then said, bitter enemies of mine they were, and of my ancestors, and of my party. I had to scatter them, not once but twice. Were expelled, but only to return from everywhere, I said. Not once but twice, and art your men, however, never mastered. Just then, along that same tomb's open ledge, a shade appeared, but just down his chin, beside this other. I think he got up, kneeling. He looked around as though he hoped to see if someone else perhaps had come with me, and when his expectation was deceived, he started weeping. If it be great genius that carries you along through these blind jail, where is my son? Why is he not with you? I do not come alone, I said to him. That one waiting over there guides me through. Here, the one perhaps your Guido held in scorn will be completely dead.
They really are judgy for people that are losing their paths and wandering through hell.
Yes, they are. We don't know where we are, but we're going to judge you for being here.
The place of pain assigned him and what he asked already had revealed his name to me and made my pointed answer possible. Instantly he sprang to his full height and cried, "What did you say? He held? Is he not living? The day's sweet light no longer strikes his eyes?" And when he heard the silence of my delay responding to his question, he collapsed into his tomb, not to be seen again. So that was Cavalcante de Cavalcanti, was also somebody that Dante knew. His son Guido was Dante's friend.
First and oldest friend.
Also a big poet. Dante
Yes.
has a thing for poets.
He will throw any poet into hell. Yay.
That other stately shade at whose request I had first stopped to talk showed no concern, nor moved his head, nor turned to see what happened. He merely picked up where we had left off. "In that art they did not master," he went on. "That gives me greater pain than does this bed. But the face of the queen who reigns down here will glow not more than 50 times before you learn how hard it is to master such an art. And as I hope you may once more know the sweet world, tell me, why should your party be so harsh to my clan in every law they make?" I answered, "The massacre and butchery that stained the waters of the Arbia red now causes such laws to issue from our councils." He sighed, shaking his head. "It was not I alone took up that part," he said, "nor certainly would I have joined the rest without good cause. But I alone stood up when all of them were ready to have Florence razed. It was I who openly stood up in her defense." So basically he's saying, but why are you punishing my family when I was the one who was like, don't burn Florence down, I live here, I like Florence.
Yeah, he did. But he was still part of that party, so I guess it's the sins of the party.
And he still kind of has a point, though. It wasn't necessarily him that committed the sins. I guess, technically, if you're associating with sinners, you yourself are essentially saying you're okay with it, but I don't know. He didn't.
I mean, he could have changed political parties.
Yeah, that seemed like the kind of thing you got killed for in those days.
True. But he could have done it.
He could have.
And now, as I would have your seed find peace, I said, I beg you to resolve a problem that has my reason tangled in a knot. If I have heard correctly, all of you can see ahead to what future holds, but your knowledge of the present is not clear. Down here we see those with faulty vision who only see, he said, what's at a distance. This much the sovereign Lord grants us here. When events are close to us, or when they happen, our mind is blank. And were it not for others, we would know nothing of your living state. Thus, you can understand how all of our knowledge, that time when the door to the future things is closed forever. Then I, moved by regret for what I'd done, said, now, will you please tell the fallen one his son is still on earth among the living? And if, when he asked, silence was my answer, tell him while he was speaking, all my thoughts were struggling with that point you solved for me. My teacher had begun to call me back, so I quickly asked that spirit to reveal the names of those who shared the tomb with him. And he said, more than 1,000 lie with me. The second Frederick is here, and the cardinal is with us, and the rest I shall not mention. His figure disappeared. I made my way to the ancient poet, reflecting on those words which were prophetic enemies.
He moved, and as we went along, he said, what troubles you? Why are you so distraught? And I told him all the thoughts that filled my mind. Be sure your mind retains, the sage commanded, those words you heard pronounced against yourself, and listen carefully now. He raised a finger. When at last you stand in the glow of her sweet ray, the one whose splendid eyes see everything, from her you'll learn your life's itinerary. Then to the left he turned. Leaving the walls, he headed towards the center by a path that strikes into a vale whose stench arose, disgusting us as high up as we were. That's the end of Canto 10. And now we move on to Canto 11.
11!
For a non-circle circle, the Circle of the Heretics is taking a while. I mean, we're 2 cantos deep. We're still here.
We are still here. Can we leave now, Dante? We would like to leave now. Even Virgil's like, come on, hurry
This
along.
Is Circle 6. So this, I think, is really, I mean, I know Dante has banished people that he knows and people political importance to the Inferno, but I think this is the canto where he really fucks himself over, because he banishes a pope to this part. And if there's one thing I know, it's that you don't do that.
You don't do that, Dante. What are you doing?
I mean, whether he was a heretic or not, we'll get into that, but don't be putting your...
Well, he also didn't like the practice of simony.
Yes.
So.
I know, but you still probably shouldn't put people in charge of your political party and your country.
And your religion.
Into the Inferno.
Yeah, maybe not.
Maybe wait till Michelangelo's Sides of the Sistine Chapel vibes, where he painted that one cardinal with a donkey's features.
Yeah. Artist is gonna artist, I guess.
I know. So we reached the curving brink of a steep bank constructed of enormous broken rocks. Below us was a crueler den of pain, and the disgusting overflow of stench the deep abyss was vomiting forced us back from the edge. Crouched underneath the lid of some great tomb, I saw it was inscribed, within lives Anastasius, the Pope Photinus lured away from the straight path. Our descent will have to be delayed somewhat, so that our sense of smell may grow accustomed to these vile fumes. Then we will not mind them. my master said, and I, you will have to find some way to keep our time from being wasted. That is precisely what I had in mind, he said, and then began the lesson. My son, within these boulders' bounds are 3 more circles, concentrically arranged like those above, all tightly packed with souls, and so that later the sight of them alone will be enough. I'll tell you how and why they are imprisoned. All malice has injustice as its end, all an end achieved by violence or by fraud, while both are sins that earn the hate of heaven. Since fraud belongs exclusively to man, God hates it more, and therefore far below the fraudulent are placed and suffer more. So, I guess frauds are somehow a sinning in a way that God did not intend for humans to sin.
Yeah, they're liars.
Okay.
In the first of the circles below are all the violent. Since violence can be used against 3 persons, into 3 consecutive rounds it is divided. Violence can be done to God, to self, or to one's neighbor, to him, or to his goods. As my reasoned explanation will make clear, by violent means a man can kill his neighbor or wound him grievously. His goods may suffer violence by arson, theft, and devastation. So homicides and those who strike with malice, those who destroy and plunder, are punished in the first round, but all in different groups. Man can raise violent hands against himself and his own goods, so in the second round, paying the debt that never can be paid are suicides, self-robbers of your world, or those who gamble all their wealth away and weep up there when they should have rejoiced. One can use violence against the deity by heartfelt disbelief and cursing him, or by despising nature and God's bounty.
I don't know that I consider suicide an act of violence. It's more an act of despair.
Again, depression is punished.
I know it.
Suicide is
I know I'm not
horrible.
super religious, but like this is part of religion. Like we shouldn't be punishing people for their mental health issues.
No, but this is the 1300s, and the Catholic Church always took against the suicide as a sin, and
I know.
And there's laws against suicide in the United States.
I know. I have had too many issues with depression to be on this, to like argue on the side of religion in this case.
Oh, I agree. I'm just saying why it was a thing, though.
Oh, I know. I know why it was a thing. It's just I don't
agree
it should be a thing.
I also don't agree. I do not agree. I disagree.
Yes. If you need any resources for suicide and depression, please look at the referrals here on screen.
Yes.
Because we take this very seriously. Mental health is a great concern, especially in these times.
Especially in these times.
This recording is made in November of 2024, in case people are wondering what we're referring to. And if you don't, do some research!
Therefore, the smallest round stamps with its seal both Sodom and whores, and all those souls who hate God in their hearts and curse his name. Fraud that gnaws the conscience of his servants can be used on one who puts his trust in you, or else on one who has no trust invested. This latter sort seems only to destroy the bond of love that nature gives to man. So, in the second circle, there are nests of hypocrites, flatterers, dabblers in sorcery, falsifiers, thieves and Siamists, panders, seducers, grafters, and like filth.
The former kind of fraud both disregards the love nature enjoys and that extra bond between men which creates a special trust. Thus, it is in the smallest of the circles at the earth's center around the throne of Dis that traitors suffer their eternal pain. And I, Master, your reasoning runs smooth, and your explanation certainly makes clear the nature of this pit and of its inmates. But what about those in the slimy swamp, those driven by the wind, those beat by rain, and those who come to blows with harsh refrains? Why are they, too, not punished here inside the city of flame, if they have earned God's wrath? If they have not, why are they suffering? And he to me, why do you let your thoughts stray from the path they are accustomed to? Or have I missed the point you have in mind? Have you forgotten how your ethics reads? Those terms it explicates in such detail, the 3 conditions that the heavens hate, incontinence, malice, and bestiality. Do you not remember how incontinence offends God least and merits the least blame? If you will reconsider well this doctrine, and then recall to mind who those souls were suffering pain above, outside the walls.
I love that he's like, oh, no, we have to put all these liars have to go. Shoot, goodbye.
Excuse me, do you forget everything you've learned?
Also that, too. Virgil's like, do they not teach ethics anymore?
I know they do, because you've referenced it.
And you referenced me how many times? Not that Virgil was a ethics poet, but my God. You will clearly see why they are separated from these malicious ones, and why God's vengeance beats down upon their souls less heavily. O sun that shines to clear a mystery vision, such joys is mine when you resolve my doubts, and that doubt pleases me no less than knowing. Go back a little bit once more, I said, to where you say that your sea offends God goodness, and untie that not for me philosophy.
Virgil and Dante need to watch The Good Place.
Woo! He said, and more than once points out to one who reads with understanding how nature takes her course from the divine intellect, from its artistic workmanship, and if you have your physics well in mind, you will find not many pages from the start how your art too, as best it can, imitates nature. The way an apprentice does his master, so your art may be said to be God's grandchild. From art and nature, man was meant to take his daily bread to live. If you recall the book of Genesis, near the beginning, don't start with me, Dante, don't start. But the usurper, adopting other means, scorned nature in herself, and in her people art. He invests his hope in something else. Now follow me. We should be getting on. The fish are shimmering over the horizon.
I'm sorry, the fish?
Yes. Yes, the fish. The fish are shimmering over the horizon. The wane is now exactly over Taurus, and the passage down the bank is farther on. And that ends 11. Canto 11 is ended now. I love how he referenced Aristotle's physics at the last moment, and fish.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
I believe the fish is referencing the zodiac, but yes.
Like Pisces?
I think so. Maybe.
They talked about the astrological signs in the 1300s?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
they
for all the astrological girlies.
did. There you go. Pisces is in the Dante's Inferno. And,
Why though? Why Pisces?
and I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing it, but Caurus is the north wind.
Caurus.
Caurus. I was right. God damn it, I was right. Okay.
Oh, okay. So the reason Pisces is in the Inferno is apparently each sign of the zodiac covers about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it's like 2 hours before dawn.
Yep. Well, I mean, we started, I think, at midnight, so we're heading. This is a time thing, too. Dante
so we're in
tries
circle
to give
6,
you a
and we've been walking about 6 hours.
Yes.
So.
And Dante tries to give you a sense of time, even though you're like, this is the fairy realm as far as I'm concerned. There is no sense of time.
How do you know? How can you... In a timeless space, how do you know how much time has passed?
Because Virgil glows. He's also
a timepiece.
Yes.
Bring home your multifunction Virgil. He glows. He
teleports.
Time. He summons things.
No, he doesn't summon things. Dante summons things.
Right. He admonishes things.
Yes.
He can carry you in times of
faint-itis.
So not that much to add to our faint and our fear counts this time.
Well, we added 2 to our fear count.
But nothing to our faint count. So
No.
we're at 10 and 2.
God damn, Dante, you're still conscious, apparently.
He's conscious and he's talking and he's talking and he's talking, and I still don't think that suicide is a sin. Anyways.
It's not.
You shall not change my mind.
I will not try to, friend. I will not try to.
I'm telling Dante, because apparently this man likes to try and change people's mind about things.
I mean, he also tried to talk about the Book of Genesis. I don't know why Virgil knows about the Book of Genesis, but
he's been through hell before.
I guess he talked to other Christians. He's like,
and apparently at some point, I feel like it wouldn't be that far off track for whoever's in charge of all this to be like, okay, all you people that didn't commit any sins but are in limbo, here, have a copy of the Bible. See what you're missing out on.
So apparently the incontinence and malice is also based on Aristotle's version of sins, not the Catholic Church version of sins. And Dis is another name for Lucifer. So when we talk about the city of Dis, it's also Lucifer. Yay!
Alright, well, once again, this has been The Laughing Goblins. I'm Holly.
I'm Bonbon.
You can find me at Holly Dermavoy on Instagram.
And you can find me as Blank Esquire.
Please
Follow our TikTok. We have TikTok now. Yay, it's The Laughing Goblins.
You can also find us on Spotify and on Patreon. Please
follow us join our Patreon.
We need money.
We are poor.
We need to feed our cats.
And we like to read more for you.
But we can't afford more books if we're not making money.
Yes, very true. Shameless e-bag.
That's it for today. See you next time.
Bye!